In conversation with Simon Sladen, he/him, Chair of the UK Pantomime Association and a Senior Curator at the V&A Museum, and Rima Georges, former Springboard trainee. This conversation takes place in a room with 2 chairs in front of glass windows. From left to right, Simon is wearing a light grey jumper and black trousers. He has short, light brown hair and is wearing spectacles. Rima is wearing denim jeans and a V-neck top with a light blue, dark blue and olive check pattern. She has chin-length, curly black hair.
Hi Simon, great to speak to you.
Hello, it's lovely to be here talking about Panto.
It's Panto season, and so it's only right to speak to you about pantomime.
Oh no, it isn't.
Oh yes, it is.
We'll get one of those in straight away.
So in your own words, could you explain what a pantomime is?
Yeah, so a pantomime is a fairy tale or a folk narrative told through song, dance, music, comedy, slapstick, often has a quest narrative and a bit of romance thrown in there. And we see it performed by some stock characters. So the pantomime dame is one of those key roles, a villain, a fairy or a magical character, and some would say most importantly, the audience is the final cast member. Audience participation is vital for any pantomime. The interaction and the interplay between the stage and the auditorium makes it this whole community of Pantoland where if you're in the audience, you're involved from start to finish.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the different aspects of the pantomime. Could you explain a bit about the history and origins of it?
Yeah, I mean, we think of pantomime as being this very big, strong British art form, which it is, and this year there'll be over 260 pantomimes across the United Kingdom happening. But we look way, way back to the 16th century and, interestingly, Italy for some of those roots. So commedia dell'arte is a form of strolling theatre which is performed slightly improvised, slightly acrobatic, slightly with music, and it tells the tale most frequently of lovers who can't be together because of an interfering parent. It was performed outside mostly in the streets, and it was a very popular form of entertainment for everybody. It crossed Europe and came to the UK where we embraced it and we changed it up a little bit. One of the key characters was Harlequin, who lives on through the pantomime. We might think of Harlequin as the principal boy character today. So what we did is we took the Harlequin character in the commedia dell'arte, this comic slapstick stories, and called it the Harlequinade, and we put it at the end of a fairy tale. So we presented, let's say, Cinderella or Jack and the Beanstalk. There was a massive stop to that. The Harlequin characters were transformed from the earlier characters, and then there was some slapstick business of chases around London, for example. Now, over time, that fairy tale bit got more and more popular and more elaborate. It started to incorporate some of the comic slapstick business from the Harlequinade, which was the afterpiece. And so the Harlequinade got shorter and shorter, fell out of favour, until the slapstick, the comedy, some of those stock characters like the clown turns into the dame and the comic, and we have pantomime really sort of as we know it today. We've got the Victorian era to thank for that. The cross-dressing aspect we might trace all the way back to the medieval mystery plays, which were Bible stories performed by men in the city guilds, and we see these sort of early traces of the dame, of course, in Elizabethan England, in Shakespeare plays. All-male cast, the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. So we see these trajectories. And of course, since then, it's gone through such a big evolution. Disney films have influenced pantomime greatly with some of the character names we know, some of those plots that we know. Today, musical theatre's a big influence. You know, we're celebrating drag as an art form in pantomime, which the genre resisted a lot, certainly up to probably the mid-2000s.
Really?
Yeah. But wonderfully, the popularity of drag and the wonderful skill set and the performers that we have in the UK has been popularised by things like RuPaul's Drag Race. And so we've always had that cross-dressing as part of pantomime, but now we can celebrate drag in all of its forms.
And extend it.
You know, pantomime continues to respond to the now and will forever do so, which is why it's still alive today.
Despite Britain's colonial history, Do you think there's a reason why the pantomime hasn't reached to places like Australia and the USA?
It's interesting when we think about that, sort of the British Isles as being where pantomime exists. Even back to the Victorian period, they were doing panto in Australia, in New York, for example, in America, and the Christmas show would travel across the seas and be presented there in the summer in Australia, which was their winter. And today we still see productions in Australia and New Zealand. We still see productions happening in America and Canada. But what's interestingly, it's presented as a British art form. So the colonial histories, certainly where there have been large amounts of military stationed and people are performing to people with British heritage, for example, and the communities of that locale. I think there are certain aspects of pantomime that maybe don't translate or make it a bit more challenging. Partly it's that each community and each culture and each country has its own sort of set of values, particularly what is funny and what isn't funny. Let's take gender, for example, with actresses playing the principal boy or actors playing Dame. We know that in various different cultures, that type of performance is accepted or isn't accepted, or there might be local forms of that. So there are these pockets where it's presented, either very commercially with the big stars, or very, very community driven, but those audiences are going, wow, let's see what these slightly eccentric British people do at Christmas and try and get our head round it, you know.
The pantomime has its challenges in terms of representation and diversity.
Yeah.
Could you explain where pantomime, particularly in venues like the Lyric Hammersmith Theatre, has evolved to be more inclusive?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, pantomime as we know it today was made concrete and crystallised in that Victorian period. Okay, so inheriting those Victorian practices that are embedded in, you know, racist portrayals of cultures, homophobia, misogyny, are, especially at venues such as the Lyric Hammersmith, being reappraised and reassessed. Because actually pantomime is one of the forms of theatre that is disseminating that still to this day, because it is done year on year.
Yeah.
So if you come to a Lyric Hammersmith pantomime, you're going to see, certainly within that cast and creative team, a community that reflects wider society. And of course pantomime is important because often it is a young person's first time at the theatre. It is part of that wider arena of entertainment, whether that's books, whether that's television, that helps us understand more about society and ourselves. And if we don't see ourselves represented, and if we only see certain cultures, certain people with certain backgrounds presented in certain ways, that is naturally going to affect how you see the world. Thankfully today, that has been absolutely skewed, and we're seeing principal leads, secondary leads, a whole manner of characters. We're also now foregrounding and centering narratives around the queer experience. So we are seeing gay characters, which is really exciting, because many of these forms actually we don't see in other forms of theatre. We don't even see widely represented on television and film. And that has to do with venues like the Lyric really wanting to champion diversity and inclusive practice. Pantomime survives because it is willing to evolve.
There have been a number of firsts in pantomimes here at the Lyric. Could you give me a few examples?
One is, certainly in my career, I'd never seen a principal girl propose to a principal boy before. Now that doesn't sound that radical, but I think still in society we are maybe swept up with the fact that a man should propose to a woman. That doesn't need to be the case, and so we absolutely have seen that in 2 productions here. We've also seen pantomimes where, hey, it doesn't have to end with a wedding, because a wedding is not the only thing to strive for. I think the commitment to queer visibility here is amazing. I think you're still the only theatre in the country to have had Buttons, who was a lesbian and fell in love with one of Cinderella's sisters, which is such an exciting aspect to the narrative. Still to this day, Dave Twankey in Aladdin, so Aladdin's dad, who was the Dame, and enjoyed wearing dresses, just as we see amazing performers like Billy Porter wearing dresses and trousers and all different types and forms of clothing. Certainly the Lyric has some of the strongest female characters that there are. You know, Cinderella, who's an astrophysicist, who is going to go to the ball because she's going to create a rocket and go there. We've had a number of Jack and the Beanstalks where Jack has been Jacqueline and Jill is the slightly dim-witted member of the royal family. I love the fact that the Lyric has absolutely championed roles such as the animal comic, whether that's the very first production of Jack and the Beanstalk. The cow was played by a Spanish bull. I mean, that's just the wonderful eccentricity of pantomime that had a lot of that comedy and comic roles. We've given voice to the animals and they've been a beloved part of the pantomime. We absolutely embracing all forms of drag and having bearded sisters, bearded dames, playing with gender, playing with drag. That's really exciting here, as well as, of course, being one of the most diverse casts that there are in Pantoland. You get this wide cross-section so that everybody can see themselves on that stage.
Do you have any anecdotes about infamous pantomimes that caused a stir when they performed? I'm sure you have many.
There's a production in the Victorian era of Sleeping Beauty, and there's a joke where the king and queen come on with a teddy bear in a pram, and then there's a change on the stage and a live bear is replaced. So they take the teddy bear out and they put a live bear in so that when the audience see it, they see this little bear cub. One day that bear got a little bit too excited and leapt out and started to get a bit aggressive. So that caused quite a stir on stage and in the audience, and the handler had to get him. And certainly in the Victorian period, you had to pay the stagehands danger money so that they would be there to catch you if you were jumping through a window, or with the equivalent of like a crash mat today. And if you didn't pay up, they wouldn't be there.
Oh.
So, you know, lots of things happened behind the scenes, literally, where that was the case.
Finally, do you have any predictions about the future of pantomime? Will they continue to evolve?
I think we're absolutely going to see more animal characters, you know, walking, talking, whether that's a cow or whether that's, I don't know, many different types of animals. I think we're going to see different titles, certainly. We're going to see a big shifting around of some of those. I think we're going to see drag absolutely embraced in even more ways. I think we're going to see more centering of queer characters and narrative, which is exciting. And I hope we're going to see much more inclusive nature, whether that is casting more performers from the global majority, more disability visibility on the stage. That's an area that the industry is working hard to do, needs to work much harder, needs to look to the Lyric Hammersmith and venues like the Lyric who are doing fantastic in that. And I think, interestingly, I think the romance narratives might slowly start to disappear a bit.
Yeah.
I think life is so complicated today.
Yeah, we have other other stories to tell,
We have other stories to tell, and I think this celebrating of people that previously were excluded is where pantomime really flies that flag. And I think we're going to see so much more of that, which is really exciting.